Familiarity grinding is a fancy way of saying trial and error. We ask our players to play our game knowing that in their lack of familiarity with it, they will make a mistake that results in defeat. They try again and again until they succeed, and the process repeats over and over until the game tells them they've won. But are they really making any mistakes, and have they really won? Is it a victory to have beaten a challenge not because we have adapted to it, but because of the amount of attempts we were able to make? Is it a mistake not to know how to beat a challenge we've never faced? Is it of any value to teach a player that given a theoretically infinite amount of attempts, they can overcome any challenge, given that the reality we live in does not grant an infinite amount of attempts? In this video, I'm going to share some thoughts on the impact of familiarity grinding in games design. It is believed that learning is one of the core appeals of playing games, and for this purpose, familiarity grinding encourages an improvement in our ability to efficiently adapt to unfamiliar challenges. The reason this function is possible is because each failure costs time, of which we have only a limited amount in life, so we're encouraged to care about how quickly we can adapt to challenges. This is the case with most games. We spend time to improve how efficiently we learn, and thus save time we would have spent learning. Familiarity grinding is unique in that it emphasises the importance of efficiently adapting to an isolated challenge, one where we cannot succeed solely based on pre-established knowledge. This might be of greatest value to those who subconsciously expect to go out into the world and encounter many unfamiliar challenges. This is arguably most relevant to the youngest generations of gamer in the year of 2021. We now go through educational curriculums often focusing on lofty studies of which few are important to our personal prosperity. Young people are learning about geography, chemistry and aeronautics, but not about civil rights, first aid and mental health. We as games designers can focus the purity with which we deliver this learning experience, ensuring that the challenge and thus the learning it provides can be digested efficiently and in relative comfort by the player. What that means to me is to be kind to the player, in a way we might be kind to our own child as they attempt to understand a confusing new world. They cannot know how to overcome the challenge we have presented without first having failed it. We don't need to punish the player for this failure, making them trek through 40 seconds of uninteresting gameplay each time they make another attempt. If we're going to punish the players for failure, I think it should be as an interactive and thought out part of the experience, rather than a bland time penalty between how often the player can make attempts. What we can do is create a more dynamic challenge, by continually modifying the obstacles that sit between the restart point and the challenge. That way, each time the player fails, the process of restarting the attempt becomes a learning experience in of itself, rather than simply burning more time and confirming what the player already knows, which is that they can indeed successfully walk down this long corridor they've walked down 20 times already. In other words, if your game involves familiarity grinding or trial and error mechanics, either respect that failure is inevitable and optimise the process of making another attempt, or make that process a dynamic and changing challenge of its own. To finish up, I'll refer to my initial statement where I questioned if there was any value in success through perseverance. There is. Giving up because something is hard isn't something we want to encourage. What I think we should consider as games designers is the value of perseverance in comparison to the value of more efficient learning. We don't want to be promoting stubbornness where adaptation is much more effective. We should present our challenges in a way that intuitively communicates that when butting your head up against the wall hasn't worked for the last hour, the most effective approach is probably not to continue doing so for another hour. I hope these thoughts are helpful to you in whatever goals you're pursuing, and thank you for listening.